South China Morning Post, 29 October 2023, CoP28 called for greater focus on the vulnerable mountain range that crosses China, India, and Nepal. China, a nation that has little concern for the environment, has ruined it via the overuse of Mother Nature's resources, pollution, and destructive mining. The Hindu Kush Himalaya region is home to an estimated 54,000 glaciers, all melting at a rate never seen before. According to a June assessment by the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, ICIMOD, if temperatures rise sufficiently, glaciers in the region might lose up to 80% of their current volume by 2100. The Hindu Kush Himalaya region has experienced some of the worst climate-related calamities in recent memory, from floods and landslides to heat waves that broke records. Additionally, experts are urging quick action to address the situation as world leaders and policymakers prepare to convene in Dubai from November 30 to December 12 for the 28th United Nations Climate Change Conference, or CoP28. "This is our only chance to act decisively, quickly, and urgently," stated Pema Gyamtso, the Director General of the Intergovernmental Environmental Organization ICIMOD, which has its main office in Kathmandu. Policymakers need to be influenced by science with such urgency that they must act at a pace and scale that is likely never seen before. The Hindu Kush Himalaya region, called the pulse of the planet, stretches 3,500 kilometers, 2,175 miles, over Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, China, India, Myanmar, Nepal, and Pakistan. However, increasing temperatures have sped up the creation of new glacial lakes and increased the growth of already existing ones, leading to more frequent glacial lake outburst floods. At least 77 people were killed by a flash flood that occurred earlier this month in the hilly Indian state of Sikkim, which was caused by an eruption of a glacier lake on the Chinese side. During this year's monsoon season, tragic landslides in the states of Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, together with floods in Afghanistan, Bhutan, Myanmar, and Nepal, have caused extensive damage and multiple fatalities. Gyamtso stated during CoP28 that all Hindu Kush countries needed to send a warning about the region's vulnerability. He demanded that more money and technology be shipped to address the situation. "The effects of climate change are being felt here in this region," he declared. "We must raise awareness among the global community, particularly in the global north, of this region's uniqueness and vulnerability." Almost 2 billion people, including an estimated 240 million who live inside the mountains and valleys, depend on the rivers flowing from the mountains in the Chinese-occupied Hindu Kush Himalaya region for daily needs. Nearly 25% of the world's population will have food, energy, and water security impacted by climate change. Gyamtso stated, "The melting of the glaciers would contribute to rising sea levels. There would be more pressure if individuals had to relocate due to natural calamities and go to other nations or areas. Therefore, investing makes sense for the global north or other countries." According to a report released this month, between 2000 and 2019, the cost of losses from extreme weather events caused by the climate issue was expected to be $143 billion, or $16 million yearly. According to researchers, the estimations might be used to determine loss and damage budgets that would assist nations in absorbing the shocks caused by the climate catastrophe. The COP27 meeting last year made history by announcing that the Loss and Damage Fund will help nations that are most at risk from the climate issue. A year later, a transitional committee tasked with figuring out the specifics of the funding arrangements is still unable to reach an agreement, and one expert on policy has warned of very rocky negotiations during the Dubai summit. Gyamtso stated, "In the interim, it is critically necessary to improve the accessibility of the current funding mechanisms, such as the Green Climate Fund and the Adaptation Fund. Currently, the procedure is quite demanding, making it exceedingly challenging to obtain this money." We must investigate ways to make this more readily available. While affluent governments are expected to assist lower-income nations, Gyamcho stated that these nations should also assume responsibility and exercise caution regarding their infrastructure initiatives. He warned that because of the possible risk of glacial lake outburst floods, officials in the area should exercise caution when building megadams and hydropower plants and haphazardly on unstable terrain. Due to their sizable mountainous terrain, the nations in the Hindu Kush region, India, China, Nepal, and Pakistan, need to draw more attention to their difficulties at the CoP28 summit, according to Gyamcho. He continued, saying that these high-altitude mountain regions are still marginalized since they are less crowded than others and do not generate much income. While the mountains continue to be underrepresented in climate discourses, small island nations have historically been very successful in lobbying for support, he said. Groups don't have to compete with one another. This needs to work in tandem. Events in the highlands impact the islands, and vice versa. This realization must be ingrained because those in positions of control and those who make decisions are elsewhere. But in addition to COP summits, Gyamcho stated that cooperation among the nations in the Hindu Kush Himalaya region was necessary to address the effects of the climate catastrophe. Regional centers of excellence, COPs, are becoming more and more critical, he continued, so that nations can work together on transboundary problems like air pollution, floods, glacial lake outburst floods, and biodiversity preservation. Gyamcho stated that China and India, the two biggest economies in the area, may take the lead in tackling climate-related challenges, especially when it comes to exchanging knowledge and technology with nations like Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Nepal. He said giving downstream country giving would be essential. Gyamcho remarked, if we would be essential look at the glaciers, many are in China. Therefore, downstream areas in Nepal, India, or Bangladesh will not be able to prepare for the potential threat of a glacial lake outburst flood unless they receive information from China in real time. According to Gyamcho, the ICIMOD is currently working to improve regional cooperation to set up a higher-level institutional system. According to him, the body will convene a panel of experts, including scientists and legislators, to assess climate-related incidents, compile data, and suggest remedies so relevant government agencies can make well-informed policy decisions. Our goal is not to establish legally binding protocols or require parliamentary ratification. Instead, we want to instill a moral obligation on our member countries in the region to exchange knowledge, skills, and resources to save lives and property, stated Gyamcho. According to Gyamcho, policymakers should pay attention to science and use scientific data when making decisions about the future. Weather-related disasters, happening increasingly frequently and intensively in the Hindu Kush region and worldwide, should serve as a warning and a wake-up call. Gyamcho stated, we need assessments, but we also need to believe what we see, hear, and experience. Every nation and its national policies need to recognize that this is something that cannot wait. It's imperative that we act now, before it's too late. Perhaps 10 years ago,